Hello everyone and welcome back to The Sims 3 Just Us. I would like to mention where it was we left off, but unfortunately I don't actually remember because it has been a long time since I played. I do apologize for my long-standing absence. I mentioned in Monday's video that a lot of things have happened, and a lot of things have been happening with me recently. I've mentioned I mentioned everything in Monday's video. You can check that out. Did I just turned the telly on, didn't I? I just scared myself by turning the telly on. Yeah, so anyway, I spent most of Monday's video actually discussing what was going on with me. I don't plan on... It moved. Okay. Yeah, I don't plan on doing it in this video, so I will just leave it at... if you're interested in why I've been absent, just check out Monday's video. And we will continue on with what's going on here. Unfortunately, we happen to be starting the video off with everyone in bed, which is kind of boring, and I do apologise that there is not a lot I can do. Oh, there we go, someone's awake. Our lovely little miss woke up. So she is going to get a sugar cookie that looks like it's one of the sugar cookies she made. Because, hey, there are no, there's no one older than she is awake at the moment, so, you know, if you can't take advantage of that and have a cookie for breakfast, then when can you? You're gonna need something to eat when you get up. You can take out the bad food for me, though. And you can have some waffles. You are the cutest little girl ever. What can we discuss in today's video? I suppose I can actually discuss this whilst it is still, whilst the information is still raw in my head. I mentioned, I'm not sure if all of you were interested in this video, but if not, I mentioned in my I suppose you could call it my response video to the 2006 Crunchyroll Anime Awards, or the Anime Awards hosted by Crunchyroll. I suppose you could call it that. I mentioned that I couldn't really vote for a lot of the categories, even ones with a race in, because I had not yet seen the ending of a race, so I couldn't vote for the villain or anything like that. I can happily say now, though, that the website that I use primarily to watch my anime, which I do apologise for. I did not put a link in the description of that video, but I will try and remember to put a link in the description of this video for anyone who's interested in it. They have finally either the company that are dubbing it have either finally released the final episodes for the dub, or Dubbed Crazy has finally uploaded them. I don't know what the story is there. I still don't. But either way, it has been. Either way, it's, my prayers have been answered, and the English translation has been provided. I've finally seen the end of, and sorry, that is my cat. I may have to let her in depending on where she's meowing. It sounds right now that she's meowing downstairs, so she might be okay to just stay downstairs. I don't know. Sorry, I'm off topic. Are you gonna go to the restroom? Where is your imaginary oh, there he is. Lost my train of thought because of the cat. Go take a shower. Oh yeah. That's where I was. Oh no, I wasn't supposed to get you to stop doing that. Never mind. Oh well, just go to school. Yeah, so where is my brain today? Oh yeah, I finally got to see the ending of Erased, and I can wholeheartedly say that the ending was not what I was expecting. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a very interesting thing, actually. I wasn't sure how Erase was going to end. I wasn't sure how, if I was in the writer's position, how I would have ended it. But I certainly did. She wants to join an after-school club, so we'll let her do that. But I certainly did enjoy the ending greatly. There were a few things that I had problems with, and I feel sorry for. I'm sorry. I apologize to anyone who hasn't seen the ending of Erased, but I have to admit, I've looked back at the Anime Awards and I have seen, I've looked up, I've seen who won some of the categories that I avoided looking at due to spoilers, and I can now say wholeheartedly I agree with the Villain of the Year winner, which was, and again I apologise to anyone who hasn't seen the ending, but it's the teacher, and I can't deny that it was the teacher, and I cannot deny that that is a really good, that was a really good concept, and it was a really good idea, and I did really approve of the choice that they made with that particular character and with that particular reveal in the plot twist was pretty good. basically, for me, everything was a massive surprise. I kind of thought that when our main character went back again after being arrested by the police, when he got his second chance to change the future, I kind of thought he was going to go back and we'd have to repeat everything, but now that he had a better memory of things that had happened before, like how he lost the skating race deliberately, and I can't think of other examples, but things like that. I kind of thought he would go through all of that again, and but he would obviously know to change the outcome of all of that. So us being taken back to literally a few days before both main characters' birthdays, back to when they both went to the museum together and their friends joined them at the museum. For me, that was a shock because that's not what I was expecting to happen. Another thing that shocked me was the way that the way they decided to no, I'm not going to do that. Was the way that they decided to tackle what had happened when they did return home. I wasn't expecting during first off, I wasn't expecting our main character's friend to well, actually, I say I wasn't expecting it, but I really was when it was kind of mentioned that he was the blonde one. When it was mentioned that he was the smartest in their group, I kind of expected that maybe he would be the one to clock on that something was different about him, and that he was behaving differently, and that he was essentially acting more mature than he ought to have been. And I was kind of hoping, and I kind of felt it frustrating, that he didn't explain the full story to his friend. I feel like his friend was crazy enough to go with everything else that he had been saying, and later on in a couple of episodes when he returned to the present day, he was still willing to go along with what most people would had considered a very crazy scheme. He was still willing to support him and to believe in him and to trust him. And I felt kind of like this is the kind of person right here, right now, that you can trust. Why don't you just tell him the full story? And then, of course, there's the second person that gets involved in all of this. He was one of the original victims. You know, I kind of felt like he deserved to be let in on the whole revival thing. Mainly because I felt that way about him, mostly because he was one of the victims. He was one of the people who was supposed to die. Now, if my friend had information about the fact that I was supposed to die, I would really appreciate them giving me the heads up and telling me everything. I'd really appreciate being given the 411 on all of that, and yeah. So I don't agree with the decision to kind of sort of include his friends in this whole thing, but not have him explain everything to his friends. I don't agree with there's one in particular thing I didn't agree with, and that was the main character's kind of sort of dupe into kind of stupidity, really. And there are two particular scenes that I can remember that kind of highlight and explain what it is I mean by what I say. And they are, the first instance of this is when he is following the last victim, the third and last victim, and kind of trying to figure out her schedule, and so that he can prevent her from being kidnapped and killed. He bumps into his mum, who's done quite a lot of shopping, and the two of them are walking home, and the bags are quite heavy, and it just so happens that his teacher happens to be driving that way, and he offers them a lift home. And now for me, that for me put my flags up a little bit. I thought it was very suspicious that his route home just happened to be the same route that this girl walked home from her after school classes. And this is when my brain started to kind of take over and started to come up with his own theories. And then, but I didn't have any kind of like proof, so I thought it was just, convenient. It was convenient for the character. The character's mum had brought a lot of shopping. The bags were heavy, and conveniently enough, there just happened to be someone that they knew nearby with a car, and he happened to offer them a lift home. My flags began to raise even higher when our main character went to grab something in his teacher's car that was kind of sticking out, and a whole bunch of candy fell out of his car. That was when my flag started to raise quite high, because that's a little bit suspicious. Who has a car full of candy when not too long ago in the episode he had mentioned that he wasn't married, and I don't think he mentioned anything about having kids either. So I thought that was a little bit suspicious. And this is when I kind of started to piece together my own little theory about the teacher, and how I thought it was awfully convenient. Everything seemed awfully convenient. It's like the first and last victim. Our main character's male friend was the last victim, if I remember correctly. But the first and last victims happened to be students at his school. He just so happened to be driving down the same street that the second victim walked home on, and he had a car full of candy. For me, this is when flags started to fly, and where my annoyance with the main character's sudden stupidity comes in, because it's just like, come on, dude, it's like, dude, I know you're in the body of an 11-year-old child right now, but you are a 28-year-old man. How do you not look at all this and see, he's going down the same route. His last and first victim are students at his school. The route he drives home happens to be the route that the second girl to go missing and get killed walks home. He has a car full of candy. How do you not put two and two together and think, hang on a minute, this doesn't seem right? And it's the same for me when the teacher essentially kidnaps the main character and attempts to drown him in a freezing river. I'm kind of left looking at it like, how did you not see this coming? You know, the car he was driving is slightly different. The passenger seatbelt conveniently is broken, and you literally need the strength of a full-grown adult to open it. To me, that sparks up red flags. And I know what people are saying. It's like, you know, trying to think of. I know people are saying that maybe the last few things that I mentioned are a bit suspicious, but the candy thing's not suspicious because the guy the guy confesses to the main character that the candy is because he's just recently given up smoking. But I like the cool just complete lie on that. I try not to swear on my channel, so yeah, that's just a complete lie in my books because living with a smoker before, they don't, at least the smokers I've lived with, or at least the smokers I've known who have given up, they don't tend to go for something that reminds them of smoking. They just go for something that is kind of like a comfort for them. So it seems awfully convenient that the reason he has those lollipops in his car because he's given up smoking. I think it's awfully convenient, and it's kind of it's too much of a convenience. It's too much of a convenient answer for my liking. It makes me very uncomfortable that that's kind of his excuse for that. Why can't you use the trash can? That's a bit weird. The car thing definitely got on my nerves a little bit because there's really no excuse for a 28-year-old to not notice that kind of thing. But other than that, there was only one other thing that got on my nerves, and that is what ends up happening with Kaio's mom. I finally remembered the girl's name, but yeah, I feel after all the pain and suffering she put Kaio through, I feel like not enough justice was there wasn't enough justice for Kaio, in my opinion. I felt like Kaio had been let down a little bit because her mum was kind of just allowed to listen to her mum and kind of have her mum apologize for everything that she had to see and everything like that, and it's just like I can understand what the writers were doing with having Kaio's mum come from an abusive relationship with Kaio's dad. I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to garner sympathy, but yeah, that doesn't wash with me because to me that seems like it's. Sorry, I just felt like putting curtains in her room. But it just, to me, it seemed like a bit of a cop-out. It's just like, oh, yeah, this woman's been beating up her child a lot, and she locks her in a cold, freezing cold shed, and she abuses her, and just by looking at her response to a cup of ramen and an actual like home cooked meal, she never cooks for her, and you know, yeah, her mum does all this horrible, nasty stuff to her, but feel sorry for her because her husband or boyfriend or whatever Kaio's dad was to her mom, was beating her up. And I'm not gonna lie, I do have some sympathy for Kaio's mom, because it's not easy being in that kind of relationship, and it's certainly not easy to leave that kind of relationship either. And I know those relationships aren't very pleasant, but that's still no excuse to then subject your own daughter, who we see in the clips that we are shown of the treatment, the harsh treatment that she was subjected to by her other half, like by we'll just refer to him as Kaio's dad. By Kaio's dad, we see in one clip in particular that Kaio at one point even put herself between her mother and her father, so Kaio actually was trying to protect her mother while she was being beaten and abused by her father. And to me, it's kind of disgusting that she goes around beating up Kaio after that. It's like, your daughter tried to protect you. She tried to defend you from this horrible monster who used to abuse you, and now you're doing the exact same thing to your daughter. How does that make anything okay? You don't do that. And that for me was why I felt like Kaio's mom she got off too lightly, in my opinion. I mean, yes, it's terrible what happened to her, and yes, it's really bad, and yes, I do feel sorry for her, but that doesn't mean it's okay for you to go and abuse your daughter and essentially treat your daughter the same way her father treated you. You know, if anything, and I can't speak from experience, because I'm fortunate to have a very loving father and a very loving mother, and my parents have a very good relationship with each other, and they love each other very much. So I can't speak from experience from dealing with domestic abuse. But I would have to say, if I found myself in an abusive relationship and I'd finally worked up the courage, like so many other women have, to leave, I would break the circle of violence and not treat my daughter the same way. Anyway, that is my opinion on well, that's part of my opinion. I don't have enough time to finish. I'll probably finish this in Friday's video, or I might actually go more into depth with this with an actual video of its own. Let me know if that's something you would be interested in, because I am almost out of time. So, yeah. I'd be curious to know whether or not you guys would be interested in, like, my opinion on the ending and the whole series in general. What's that in the... I'm guessing it's just a fountain. Anyway, that is time, so I hope you all enjoyed this episode of just the two of us. I'm sorry I didn't really have anything planned for this episode. I'm just kind of trying to just readjust myself to recording and everything. But anyway, if you liked this episode, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment on where you think the story should go from here. What should the goal for this series be? Should it be... obviously the goal is to survive and keep the sisters together, and obviously try and figure out what happened to the parents and everything like that. But anyway, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. I do a lot of Sims 3 and anime related content. I hope to do more animated related content in the future, but right now it's just Loot Crate unboxing videos at this moment in time. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. I know there are a lot of videos out there on YouTube and you don't have to choose mine, so I do really appreciate that. I hope you all have a nice day and week, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye guys.